In this video, we're going to show you how we created today's design of the day using our Easy Stone macro. I recently had a Facebook customer looking at my Facebook page, and she saw a baseball mom design that she really liked, and she said, "I'd like this put on a hat." Well, that particular design was a full t-shirt design about 10 inches wide, so obviously that wasn't going to work very well for what she wanted. And she said, "Well, whatever, I just want something for baseball mom put on a hat." Well, I really didn't have anything already pre-made, so I thought, well, I'll come up with something. And so this is what I came up with, and I wanted to show you how I created it using our Easy Stone macro, and maybe some of the techniques will be usable with some of the various rhinestone programs out there that you may be using. So to create this design, very, very straightforward. What we're going to do here is change over to Capri Blue. And we're going to choose the drop stone function on the stone tab. And what that does is it drops the stone right in the center of our document here. And then we're going to go to our stone fill tab where we have this offset function where we can offset automatically whatever size and spacing we have specified. And I can select more than one object and offset all those at once if I want to. So now I've got 6 rows of 3 of Capri Blue, and I'm going to select those 6 rows, make me 6 more rows, but I'm going to switch them to crystals. So over here on the stone, we hit rename and fill, and that changes the color. The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab 4 stones, come back over to my offset tab, and I'm going to offset 4 more stones. Actually, let's do 3. Okay? And then we're going to pull one down here, and what we're going to do is the curvature of the bat. So we're just, kind of whatever we want to do here. I just want to keep that spacing roughly the same. And so this stone here, we got to move a little bit until we get that curvature of the bat that we're kind of looking for. And I'm happy with that. So now we need to do the exact same thing on the top. Well, doing it manually exactly the same way, next to impossible, right? So let's select all 4 of those stones, left click and drag, and then right click. That makes us a duplicate, which I can then mirror. Then I can grab the duplicate and drop it right on top. Now right here we have a stone on top of a stone, but that's okay. We're going to take care of that later. So the next thing to do is to create a series of stones between these 2 stones. So I select one stone, hold my shift key down, select another, and over here on the stone tab we have this mysterious gray button. We don't know what it does until we push it, and that's what it does. And it gives us something very, very strange. And the reason that we get the look we get is because this stone was mirrored. So what we need to do is mirror it again, and then when we select it, then we get a more predictable result. So that creates the end of our bat. So I'm going to grab my shape edit tool here, so right here, my shape tool here in CorelDRAW, and click and drag. And because that's one of the most powerful things I think of Easy Stone, because we are dragging a path and all the stones are on that path, when we edit the path, all the stones come with it. And to me, that's just the way it should be, the way it makes sense. Now we've got this issue where we have a lot of space between these stones, which isn't particularly attractive. So we select a stone, and then over here on steps, we can increase the stone spacing or increase the number of stones per path, and then we get the spacing that is a lot more along the lines of what we were looking for. So now we need to create the bat part. So I'm just going to drag on the guideline and grab my pen tool here in CorelDRAW, and it allows us to be creative. And don't be scared of the pen tool. It's super easy once you understand the basic principles. So we're going to click in the center of our stone. We're going to click wherever, and we're going to click wherever, but right on the guideline. On the view menu here, snap to guidelines and snap to objects turned on. Pretty much always when we're doing rhinestone design, we always want those 2 features selected. So now I'm going to grab my shape tool, select both of those line segments, click on this little icon here, convert to curve, and then we click and we drag and we create a curve. And then we do it the exact opposite way. And it looks very Batman-like, right? So we right click on that node and choose the smooth function, and that just kind of smooths out the curve a little bit, makes it look a little bit nicer, and I think that looks pretty good. So now we can add stones to it. So we'll click add stones, and we get a series of stones. Now, when we need to mirror this again, so let's go ahead and do that. Left click and drag, right click to make a duplicate, hold down my control key and select one of these control nodes and it'll mirror perfectly. Now I can grab this whole works from the center of that stone to the center of this one. We can get this. Now, oftentimes you'll get this, right? You get this kind of weird, this is not real rounded. And again, that's the beauty of working with these paths, is that we can select the end node there, and we can adjust it. So we just grab this, and we can, position this kind of however we want to, get that curvature the way we want on one. And once we're happy with that, we just duplicate that. So left click and drag, right click to make a duplicate, control key, flip it. Now we have it flipped, and now we can grab it, drop it, and now we have a bat. Pretty simple stuff, right? Replay that a couple of times if you need to, but very, very easy to do. Next step, baseball. So let's go ahead and drag out, hold the control key down, constrain to a perfect circle. There's our perfect circle, and you want your baseball to be roughly comparable to our bat here. And keep in mind too, we're doing this as a design for a hat, so it has to fit on a hat. Probably about 5.5 inches is probably about at the very maximum. 5 inches more preferably. So our circle is about 1 inch wide, which is good. So we'll go ahead and add some stones. There's our stones on our circle. Now the next thing to do is grab a guideline. And this is what I like to do. I'm very, very anal when it comes to my rhinestone designs. And so if we pull over a guideline here, we'll see something. Let's snap it to a stone. So down here, we're perfectly centered on this stone. But up here, notice that that perfectly centered stone is not there. And I really like to have those there, especially when I'm working on something that's symmetrical, like a baseball typically would be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the stones on this object. And what we're going to do is grab our pen tool, click anywhere, and then hover over that center node on the circle and click when it says node. Do the same thing at the bottom, click when it says node, and click anywhere. So now I have this kind of odd looking shape. I'm going to select both of those elements, come over to my editing tab and choose intersections. And the reason that I had you do that was because now we have two perfect halves. So now watch what happens. So now when we come over to our stone tab and choose add stones, visually it kind of looks the same, but something different happens. Because when I go and snap that guideline to that bottom stone, you can see I have an exact match up top. And that's what we wanted. So again, that's just me being anal, but that's how I do it. So now I can draw a line from stone to stone and click on my shape edit tool, and I can select that line and again hit this convert to curve and click and drag. So I get something that kind of looks like that for the laces of my baseball. So I'm going to change the color to light cyan and choose add stones, which we did. And then we're just going to left click and drag, right click, make a duplicate, hold my control key down, mirror it, and then I can grab the whole works and snap it right to that stone. And again, we have stones on top of stones, but that's okay because we're going to fix all that up a little bit later. Now, the next thing is the letter M. So let's grab a stone from our bat and let's work on our letter M. The letter M is probably one of the easiest letters to do because it is symmetrical, so we only have to do half of it. So let's use our offset function. So we're going to offset to the left. We're going to offset up. The offset function here in Easy Stone is also a nudge function. So if we hold down the Alt key, we can nudge. And if we hold down the Alt and Control keys, we can nudge again. So now what you see is I've centered by holding Alt Control. I nudged it, but I only nudged it half the distance. So now it's centered between the bottom two stones. And then we can go back right back to just doing a standard offset. And what I like to do is look at the letter M in comparison to my baseball. I want my baseball bigger than my letter M. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and offset this way. And I can select these two objects. And if I hold down Alt Control, I can nudge them back. See that? But if, like I said, if I do that, look at my letter M. It's almost as tall as my baseball. And I think I want it one less. So we're going to hit Delete. And then we're going to take this and we're going to nudge. So I just hold down my Alt key and it did a full nudge. And now my letter M is a full stone smaller than the baseball, which is what I wanted. So the next thing I do is I try to get an idea. I'm going to just duplicate this. So again, I left click, drag, right click to make a duplicate. That's about how wide I want my letter M, something about that. So then I'm going to pull over a guideline, just eyeball it, doesn't matter where, and then I can delete the duplicate. And then what we'll do is we'll take the stone, right click and drag, snap it to this guideline here, and then select both of those, and back on my stone tab, hit this little mysterious gray button, and that creates that. Now what we're looking for here is that the spacing between these stones be similar to these, and you can see that they're not. So that stone either needs to move up or needs to move down. One or the other has to give, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to undo that. I'm going to take this stone and I'm going to drag it down a little bit to see if that's enough distance to get an extra stone in there. And it is. So now I'm happy with that. Very, very good. So now what I can do is I can select this whole part of the letter M, left click and drag, just like before, hold my control key down, flip it over, and then from the center point to center point, there is my letter M. Now I'm going to group my letter M together, group my baseball together, duplicate my letter M, left click, drag, right click, and now you can see that this M is very close to the baseball, where this M is not so close. If I select all three elements, because they are all individually grouped together, if I hold Shift P, now the spacing between the baseball and both letter M's are exactly the same, but I'm going to nudge it out and do the exact same thing again, Shift P, and then all I did was rotate my baseball a little bit, so I think that this looks better that way, and there is my mom, right? So now the next thing to do here is, because if I go to the view menu here, you can see I have all these paths of all these stones, right? So to get rid of that, I'm just going to select the whole kit and caboodle. I'm going to choose break stones. That removes everything from this path, and then I'm going to come to my selection tab and select define paths, and that will get rid of those paths. Now I also need to ungroup, and then I can select define paths again, and all the paths that were part of the mom part of it. Let's go ahead and come back over here to my stone tab and choose break stones. Then I can come to my selections tab and hit define paths and get rid of all those extra paths. And then the final thing to do is any overlapping stone. So we'll select everything, choose editing, choose check spacing. That gets rid of any overlapping stone. And then here in the baseball, we do need to change the color of these 4 stones because I do want those to be light cyan. So rename and fill. And there you have it. So now I just right click to get rid of all the outlines of all the stones. And then to finish this off, I can just give my bat a little bit of tilt, move it over a little bit if I want to, something like that. And then to finish this off, we'll do a select everything, group it together, and we'll offset to create the offset for our decal. And then all these interior parts, we go ahead and delete the interior parts that we don't want to be part of our decal. And there is the finished design. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you give it a try with your Rhinestone software. I think it'll be a fun little project for you to get started with. Thanks for watching.